all across the fenland and the marshes, these great brick chimneys rose, because of course to have a steam engine you've got to have a chimney. And so for the back half of the 19th century and into the 20th, they were a feature of the fenland landscape, but of course very few remain now.
You're listening to Come Here, the podcast for and about heritage attractions, where you can discover somewhere worth visiting. I'm your host, Dr. Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist with a background in archaeology, specialising in voiceover for the heritage sector. Each week, I chat to someone from a different museum, historic site, gallery or cultural space about why you should visit, and exactly what you can expect when you get there. Dave Start is a volunteer at Dogdyke Pumping Station near Tattershall in Lincolnshire. They have the sole surviving beam engine made by Bradley and Craven, and also the last remaining wooden scoop wheel to be operated by steam in the country. Thank you very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Dave.
Thank you. It's a treat to be here.
So can you introduce yourself and tell me what your role is?
Yeah. Well, I'm a retired archaeologist, in fact, but I now do lots of things that I enjoy, and amongst those things is looking after Dogdyke Pumping Station. I'm chairman of the trustees there, and have been involved with it for some 10 years or so. And although I suppose in my archaeology life I was a medievalist, a bit of industrial archaeology is great fun, and I'm a very practical person, so that fits in well.
Yeah. So can you describe the location of Dogdyke Pumping Station and tell us what it was for?
Well, pumping stations are often not easy to find. You have to put pumping stations where pumping stations have to be. So our particular pumping station is quite tucked away. It's very close to Tattershall Castle, which is one of Lincolnshire's great landmarks, and so many people know that. And if you drive down the road from Tattershall Castle towards Sleaford, you cross the River Witham. That's the river that Lincolnshire is founded on. And we pump the water from Tattershall and Tattershall Thorpe, those two parishes, up into the embanked River Witham. The Witham's a mighty river at that stage, but you can barely see it. It's got great banks. In fact, a boat trip down the River Witham is one of the most boring things, because of course you've just got banks each side of you, with the occasional pumping station. So that's where we are, and I know on open days when people come to see us, they say there's a long farm track that you have to drive down to get to us, and I'm quite sure some of them almost give up before they reach us.
Yeah. So when was the pumping station built?
Well, there's been a pump there since the 1790s, but our pumping station, which is a steam pumping station with its later diesel replacement, was built in 1856, and that's a time when that mid 1850s, from the 1830s to the 1850s. Land drainage was changing across to steam. Of course, it was revolutionary. The trouble with wind pumps is they don't blow. The wind don't blow when you want it to, and so steam that you could control was a great new innovation. So we were built in 1856, and in 1940 it was replaced by a diesel engine. This was the march of the times, and that of course was replaced in 1979 by electric pumps, which aren't on our site. So we've got the steam pump and the diesel pump right next to each other on the riverbank.
Yeah, and do they both still work?
They do both still work, yes. Because of the changes to the riverbank over the years, our steam pump no longer pumps into the river. It seems to pump into the river, but actually it cheekily pumps back into the drain that it's pumping up from. So you can see it all happening in all its glorious splashiness, but the water doesn't go in the river these days. But the diesel still pumps, and until very recently actually was an emergency pump for the drainage board.
Yeah.
Witham Third Drainage Board.
Yeah. So back in the day, how many of these pumps would there have been, and sort of how frequently would you have come across one?
Well, in the day of wind pumps, because they were very inefficient, they were absolutely everywhere. You look at some early artists' landscapes of the fen area, and it looks like Holland. I mean, it's just, and of course people think they're windmills because they look like windmills, but they don't grind anything. They pump water. The steam pumps, you didn't need so many of them, but nevertheless, all across the fenland and the marshes, these great brick chimneys rose, because of course to have a steam engine you've got to have a boiler and you've got to have a chimney, and so for the back half of the 19th century and into the 20th, they were a feature of the fenland landscape, but of course very few remain now.
Yeah. How many do remain? Do you know?
Well, there are only 3 in the country. There are only 3 beam engines coupled to scoop wheels, which is it's a sort of water wheel backwards, which is the way that these early pumps work. One of those is in Cambridgeshire and 2 are in Lincolnshire, but only ours works. The other ones are just showpieces, sadly. They don't pump. Ours is the only one left pumping in steam. There's 1 or 2 of the later steam engines, horizontal steam engines, faster, more efficient, and Ouston Ferry, for instance, up in the north of the county. Although sadly, just at the moment, that one is awaiting repairs.
Yeah. So when people come to visit, what can they expect to see?
Well, I mean, they can expect to see all sorts of things. On our open days, we almost always have an additional group of people exhibiting. So, for instance, we've got an open day coming up this week, and it's vintage tractors. I know that the next one is vintage electrics, but of course at the core of all of this are our 2 great engines. And what people mostly want to see, I must admit, is really good cakes and a cup of tea, because amongst other things, that's what we're famed for.
Yeah. So how often are you open? 'Cause you're not open all the time, are you?
No, we don't. We're very limited as to when we can open. We open on the first Sunday of every month between May and October, so that's a given. That's we're always open, 12:30 to 5:30, and we have other openings, so we do some evenings. This Wednesday evening, for instance, is an opening, and Heritage Open Days we're pretty much open on one of the Heritage Open Days, but it's probably only a total of about 12 times a year.
Yeah.
But yes, to catch us, you really need to get on the website and see what the dates are.
Yeah. And as well as the pumping station, you've got a cottage, haven't you? What can people see in there?
Well, the cottage was the engine man's cottage, built just after they'd built the steam pump. And we use it for a small drainage museum to explain how the water gets to the pump, because obviously there's a little bit involved there. So there's a little bit of a museum, a bit of a video show in there. Mostly we use the cottage for making tea and cutting up cakes.
So how long should people allow for a visit?
Well, it depends what you want to do. If you really just wanted to see the engines, get in and get out, you could do that in half an hour. But people tend not to do that. People tend to luxuriate a bit, especially if the sun's shining. Look at all the other things that are happening, and have a cup of tea and enjoy themselves. So people come really from anything from half an hour. Some people, they're there for 3 hours, but that's good. That's lovely. We like it.
And how family friendly is the site? I think you have a trail for children, don't you?
Yeah, we try. We know full well that if the whole family have a good time, they'll come again. So there's activities for kids there. There's a little Dogdyke dog that you have to. He's all over the place. You have to find him. So that keeps the kids interested, and then the mums and dads who want to look at the engines, they can get a sneaky look while the kids are seeking out the dogs. So we're we would like everybody to enjoy what we have, although we realise not everybody enjoys an oily engine.
How accessible is the site for people who've got mobility issues?
Well, we do have some problems there, it has to be said, because our car park is grass and the approaches to the engine houses are grass. Everything's up on the riverbank, and so it's we can and we do get wheelchairs up there, but it's not easy, it has to be said, because of the nature of the site. It's the nature of how a pumping station works. But we've got down in the cottage, which is pretty much accessible to everybody. We've got a good video of what happens and how it happens, and it's well explained there for those who can't make it up onto the riverbank.
Yeah. And how about dogs? Can visitors bring their dogs with them?
They can indeed, as long as the visitors and the dogs are very well behaved. Yes. It's a very favourite place for bringing dogs. And, we're fine with that.
So can you explain the process of the pumping and how it all worked?
Well, I mean, at first they hoped that they could get this water off the land and into the rivers just by making the channels deeper and bigger and better. But over time, actually, if you drain land, it actually shrinks, and you find that what once used to drain naturally no longer will drain naturally, and this is where pumping engines started to come in. The water is brought through a series of drains, their channels, but it arrives there from the land drains. In the old days, these were ceramic tiles. They were pottery tiles that were placed in the ground and that brought the water in the ground, channeled it all into the drains, and the drains all aim for the pump. And of course, this is happening at pumping stations throughout the fenland. I mean, it's people, as they look at Cambridgeshire and Lincolnshire, I think, have forgotten that if those pumps stopped, of course, the water levels would rise again, and we would have, we wouldn't have those landscapes. They're agricultural landscapes these days. We wouldn't have those landscapes. So for each small catchment, and ours is a small catchment. For each small catchment, this is going on. All of that, pipes in the ground and channels. Bringing the water down. The pumps really are there they're more of a big event. So if we get a lot of rain and the levels go up, that's when the pumps have to come on. Otherwise, for a lot of the summer, the water's in the drains and it's just quite happy there. In fact, it's used for irrigation. It's put back on the land to help the crops grow.
Yeah. Do you have guides to tell people what it is they're looking at?
Yes, we don't have a guided tour. It's a self-guided site, but of course our site is run by volunteers, and they all know. They know far more than me. They all know about the engines and about the history. So, a simple question can bring quite a long and informative reply. So, and there's as you arrive, you get an info leaflet just so that you know what's there ahead of you.
Yeah. How many volunteers do you have?
Well, for open days, we need about 15 to 20 to man the site, man the kitchens, and man the car park. And then we have another set of volunteers, well, some of the same ones, of course, who come in on maintenance days. We have maintenance days. Most Mondays are maintenance days. And, of course, it's not all oiling the engine. In fact, hardly any of it is oiling the engine. Most of it is weeding and washing and cleaning and painting to keep the place looking spick and span for when people arrive.
Yeah. I mean, how much maintenance is there to do to keep the pumps in working order?
Well, there's stuff breaks, so we have a lot of routines and a lot of inspections. But every now and again, I mean, we've just had an issue just ahead of this current season. Our scoop wheel, and if the best way to describe that is to say it's like a water wheel, just like you'd see in a watermill. But it works backwards. It raises the water, and it's a great beast made of cast iron and with wooden spokes and wooden paddles on it. Now, all of these were replaced because, in fact, we had a disaster some 12 years ago, and so the whole thing was rebuilt. And we thought, good English oak, it should be fine. But we found this year our good English oak had, some of it had rotted. So just before the season opened, we had a major campaign to bring the scoop wheel back up to standard. And all of the other engines, I mean, because we operate a steam boiler, there's very strict regulations, especially where you've got visitors involved. So that has to be prepared every year for inspections and has to pass its inspections. So yes, there's a lot of maintenance. Yesterday we were painting. Yesterday we were mowing. Yesterday we were cleaning the flywheel. Yesterday, yeah, all of that.
Yeah. Do you do any special openings for school groups or WIs or that kind of thing?
Yes, we will, but there is a cost involved because to bring the steam boiler up to, because these old engines use enormous amounts of steam, and so to bring the steam boiler up, it's a couple of £100 of fuel. So we will open for special groups, and we love to open for special groups, but in that case there's a fee involved, and we can just talk that through with the groups.
Yeah. So normally is the site free to visit on your opening days?
Yes, it's free. Donations are always appreciated, and indeed even the teas and coffees are free. And again, and again there's donation pots at every turn. So. And at the moment we find that works well for us, and it works well for our visitors, because we need a certain amount each year, obviously, to keep all everything running.
Yeah. So what do visitors say that they like about the site, and is there something that surprises people?
Well, because it's an industrial site, I think they think it's going to be sort of a bit noisy and smelly, but in fact it is so peaceful. These old engines, they just run with a whoosh, really. And I think what surprises people is the lovely peaceful vibe about the site. I mean, you're there on the riverbank. You can, for the short piece that is our where we are, you can walk and sit on the riverbank. The engines, when they run, just make these nice noises. It's just a lovely place to be, and I think that surprises people.
Yeah, and they're actually not pretty, but they are decorated, aren't they? They're painted.
Yes, I mean ours is a tiny engine, the steam engine. If you go to the great engines like Papelwick, the fabulous ones down at Kew, these are decorated delights. Ours is a functional engine, and yet they don't. The Victorians, they made everything just that little bit nicer. So our railings are, beautifully decorated. Our connecting rod, which could be just a rod of iron, it's not. It's a work of art. So although we're only tiny in comparison to those great engines, it's still got those little delights. And yes, it's people are surprised. Victorian engineering, I think, always brings its surprises.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say has been your most memorable moment since volunteering there?
Well, I guess we had a major issue with the where the water issues forth into the river, there's a set of, it's like a valve really. There's a set of gates, we call them pointing doors or mitre gates, and they stop the river running back into the drains if the river levels go high. And our pointing doors had rotted at the bottom, and one of our very good volunteers had done an enormous job to get these, to rebuild these. And the day that we lowered those into place and fitted them and got them back and swinging was a great day. If we'd have had a pint of beer handy on the site, we'd have toasted ourselves and our doors. There are mini and minor triumphs all of the time to keep the whole show running.
Yeah, and I noticed on your leaflet that your patron is Julian Fellows. How did that come about?
Well, the background to that is that Tattershall is a manor. Of course, it has that wonderful castle and a lordship. And at some stage in the past, Julian Fellows purchased the lordship of Tattershall. So he is the lord of our manor. So we thought, well, if he's the lord of our manor, he ought to look after us. And so we asked him if he would be our patron. And he agreed to be our patron. I don't think he's ever visited our site, but he sends us nice letters.
Very good. And what do you love most about Dogdyke Pumping Station, Dave?
Well, I suppose because I'm a volunteer, the thing I love the most is the camaraderie of the guys who muck in together to make it work. I like the open days, but of course we're working on the open days. On a maintenance day, it's cheerful and peaceful, and there's always a good cup of tea to be had. So it's a bit like a men's shed as far as I'm concerned. It's a place where we get together and enjoy ourselves.
Lovely. Sounds delightful, Dave. Well, thank you very much for being my guest this morning.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Come Here. If you know a heritage attraction that would love to be featured, or you have a suggestion for somewhere you'd like me to cover, I'd love to hear from you. To find my email address and find out more about me, pop to my website at lizdrury.com. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe, rate and review the show. It really helps other people to find it. See you next time, and come and discover somewhere else worth visiting.